Welcome back to Novaspeed. I told you guys I was making the commitment to do these videos without missing a beat, and guess what? It may be Thanksgiving, but I ain't missing. This week's video, we're gonna hit a huge milestone in the build, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it away. We're gonna set the truck down under its own weight on my scratch-made suspension for the first time ever. Now, we'll also give away that this is not the last of these suspensions that I ever built. But hey, we'll take the milestone where we can get it. So watch along, enjoy. I'm gonna show you boxing the frame. I use too thick of a material, but that's a whole other thing. It doesn't matter, process is the same. So you're gonna get to see what that looks like and how mine is boxed. And hopefully it'll give you some ideas for your own trucks if you're thinking about doing that. I certainly encourage it, it's helped a lot. Nonetheless, I also wanna wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. If you wanna know what I'm thankful for this year, I'm thankful for the merch sales, link in the description down below. I'm thankful for all the subscribers that we've gained. By the way, gray that puppy out down below. And also, I want to say that as of January 18th, 2021, I started doing Innovaspeed as a full-time business, and I left a fairly comfortable career, at least as comfortable as you can be in corporate sales, to do this. And this was always my dream. I always wanted to work in motorsports and make parts for other people to build their vehicles and make their dream builds, whatever they may be, come true if I could certainly help in doing that. And there's a whole long list of parts. I think yesterday we figured out it's about 15 parts I currently have in development. Don't worry, the suspension kits is certainly a big one of them. But I just want to thank all of you for the orders, the subscribers, the followers, and the well wishes all the way around. I mean, honestly, this isn't possible without all of you. And I can't say thank you enough. So if you really want to know what I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for this place and the fact that you're all helping me live my dream, and I hope somehow through this process I can help you live yours, even if it's just with a little bit of an encouraging message. So I take my mimosa in my Coca-Cola glass, and this one's for you. But no more blabbing my mouth. Let's get back to building a truck. There's going to be a leap in progress here. I could give you a lot of excuses for that. Ultimately, what it boils down to is there was parts delays, there was me delays. I changed jobs and did some travel for the summer like I do to visit my family, and I even took a little bit of time off just from working on the truck. Not huge, but a couple weeks at one point, purely for frustration. I thought I could build this truck in 6 months if I had stuck to the original plan that way back before I started filming this, and you know, the family and I decided that this was going to be a project truck for me. It's gone so far beyond that. I want to get out of the sun. It is flipping hot. Behind me, you can see the gantry crane I actually just picked up the other day, and then the hoist. This falls into where we're at with the truck and what's happening today. Oh, and then one of the biggest reason I got frustrated with the truck, to go back to that real quick, I just figured you guys would see that and I want to explain it real quick. The front suspension kicked my ass. It's not completely welded. There's bracing not in, but that'll be the let's talk about that first. What we're looking at here is we have Joe's Racing actually made me some upper arms. This shock mount's not 100% finished. But it's we're gonna tack weld it on a little more. Then I have the lower shock mount here that I welded on. There's a lot of bracing and boxing here. Probably another good spot to interject real quick, and I'll make this one actually very short just to give you a little better view. This is that lower control arm. It's missing a couple pieces that you see in this video. This is what it looked like. Obviously, you know that the truck runs and I race it and it got done. So of course, this is not the final version of the suspension. There's a lot of final version components here now. This isn't one of them. To explain very simply, this is where that other piece connected to, and this is all the boxing I did to really try and reinforce around this ball joint and where the suspension loads were. All that's great. In fact, from a positioning standpoint, the ball joint, shock mount, things like that actually never changed. It worked really well. But I did move away from this because the strut rod style suspensions kind of overcomplicate with a bunch of extra components. They can introduce weaknesses to the suspension. I think this one's pretty strong, and there's certainly some strong ones out there. So don't think that I'm saying that this isn't strong. It can be. but it just didn't seem to quite meet the needs of what I was going for. And more importantly, I really wanted to simplify the suspension These are actually kind of heavy. They are probably 70% of the weight of a true A-arm, and a true A-arm offers a ton of strength advantages and triangulation and things like that, and you get a few more mounting options for additional components like sway bars, which I don't have here. So this is what that looks like. It is like triple layer, 1/8 inch in some places. It's massively overbuilt for what it is. That's kind of what I was doing at the time, especially when you don't have access to CAD and FEA, stuff like that. So there you have it. That's what it is. But it's not on the truck anymore, so enjoy it while you see it. I have it shimmed and tacked at 0 degrees of camber because I can gain like up to something insane like 4.5 degrees, which is way more than we'll ever really use on this thing. So both of these are extended link studs to help the geometry a little bit. We can get into that later. The steering arms have to go. That's one of the reasons this is not the final for the tie rod. These steering arms are all wrong. These are supposed to be reverse mounted for the A bodies and stuff like that. That's a nightmare. We'll deal with that another day. Okay, I should probably interrupt this episode for just a brief moment and explain what the hell is that spindle. I don't want to get into the specifics of that spindle. That's not even the one that my upcoming suspension kits will be using. The geometry is very, very much based on that. What I will say is right here, remember me telling you guys I was a bit of a hoarder with my old suspension pieces that I made? Because for some reason, I'm a flippin' hoarder and I still have this thing. Well, this will be one of those S197 front knuckles. And it looks kind of weird right here with this plate. So let me explain how we got to where we're at in this video, because I never knew that. I never filmed anything about it, but actually kind of makes sense now that I think about it. So basically, there's a big reason why I stepped away from this. And I've mentioned it before, but I'll go ahead and really clearly point it out now. So what this plate here is trying to do is it's trying to take the suspension load from the lower control arm, where it was never meant to be, on this McPherson strut style front knuckle, and I'm trying to redistribute that load up into the mounting ears where the suspension load is meant to go on this McPherson strut style spindle. It's not a bad idea in a very simple sense, but it's also kind of crude. And I just don't think that this was the right way to go about this. So this was me still trying to make this into a double A-arm setup. Now, the reason that this is a full-length plate like this, I was going to trim it out and pretty it up a little bit. Obviously, when I abandoned that, it's totally not worth the time. But basically, because this little ear down here was never meant for full suspension loads, that was always supposed to come through the strut, I'm trying to transfer that load up there, like I said. And so you can see this big complicated thing. It was actually kind of hard to make by hand because I don't have the special tools for this. This was not CAD developed or anything like that. And it just kind of was getting out of control, because one of the issues, if you look back at the previous episodes or if you've been following along, you may have noticed that when you look at these from the side, basically there's an angle. And you can kind of see that going on the plate here. And so what happens is your stud here is at a bit of an inward angle, and I would need to match that. And more importantly, what I never did before is they actually need to be in perfect alignment with each other, whereas mine were offset. So even though the ball joint angles were the same, they were not in the exact same. If you drew an invisible line, they were not in alignment. And that would have caused weight jacking issues and things like that in the steering that we really, really, really don't want. So essentially what I came down to is I thought, gosh, I'm trying so hard and spending so much time and effort to do this that a $400 pair of forged steel spindles seems like a really smart deal. Now you're going to notice that there's a billet hub and stuff like that on it. We're going to get into those components later because those are actually something I'm a dealer for. But just know, changing the spindle was actually a very smart move. So if any of you are thinking, hey, maybe Sean's figured out a great way to buy cheap Mustang spindles that are actually pretty robust on track cars, and turn them into double A-arm. It is possible, but I really would encourage you to not. There is a few spindles on the market that you can utilize that are going to be a lot safer and, more importantly, much easier to make it happen the right way. So that's why we abandoned this spindle once and for all. And I will say the ones you see in this video are indeed the ones that are on the truck to this day until we switch over to one of our production kits. We'll talk about that later on in a future video about that specific product. Anyway, it's a long-winded explanation. I hope this gives you some clarity if you're a little bit confused by it. But with that, let's get back to it. Same thing over here, obviously. Oh, one of the things you'll notice, these are shock simulators. I got, I think, from Summit or somebody like that. This is going to play a role in what happens today. That's just propped up on a brick because the ground slopes away here. So it's holding the arms level. I measured everything. You can see our small block Ford engine mounts are in there, transmission. That starter back here, that's the factory starter. It's not going to be the starter anymore. We'll deal with that later. You can see there's some modifications going on the firewall. That I'll attack more in gusto later. The steering rack is actually looking like it's going to have to be moved up a bit, but that's another story. Yeah, so this is just here to protect me from hitting my head all the time. I've got my Roush wheels on the front right now. Hint, hint. Cab is actually on the new mounts. I'll show them to you from the back. So that's these. They're energy suspension. I just have the bolt down through it as a pin because the cab's about to come right back off. Okay, one more interruption to share this with you guys. So while we're on the topic of body mounts there, I bought the energy suspension body mounts because they were poly and firmer. It was the only firmer mount on the market for these trucks at the time, and realistically still is. And that doesn't really work when you're trying to build a stiffer race truck, especially if you're gonna build a cage. So what am I holding here? I'm holding a sneak peek of a brand new product that I'll be releasing under the Novaspeed brand, and as soon as that's live, I'll post a link down in the description below, but you can always keep up with it on the website, novaspeed.com. There's also a link to that below in the description. So we have billet aluminum, and then we have Delrin, all of it machined right on that monster behind me. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you haven't felt the need to subscribe for parts for this truck yet, but you've got one, I think I just gave you one, because here's the deal. I'm going to start giving you guys exclusive previews of upcoming products from us. I'm literally waiting on hardware for these right now, and then they'll go live on the website. They're gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $250 a set, but it's 2 of each of these or 2 of each of these with all brand new grade 8 zinc plated hardware, washers, everything you need to install it. So if your bolts are rusted, they break, whatever, I guarantee your stock mounts are completely shot. And if you want to stiffen that truck up a little bit, you definitely want one of these. Now, to explain the difference, why do you offer Delrin or billet aluminum? If you're going to build a roll cage like I did, or you just want extra stiff and your chassis is really rigid, that's important, then you want to go billet aluminum. They have zero give. They're going to lock everything down nice and tight, and it'll actually create the cab into kind of like a unibody structure. Now, if you have a street truck or you're not going to do a lot of boxing, and definitely if you're not going to add a cage, I'm going to recommend Delrin. It's still pretty damn stiff, but offers just a little bit of give and better corrosion resistance on your daily drive or sport truck. So either way, it's going to be on our website soon. I'm super excited to offer this new product, but I thought you guys should know because this is the smart place to put it. I wish something like this had been available when I was building this truck because I certainly would have run it, but hey, that's why I'm taking care of you guys now. Thanks again for all your support. Look forward to shipping your orders to you soon. I had the drive shaft shop make me a custom drive shaft, so as you can see, it fits beautifully. We've got the frame braces, and that actually intersects, let's see, yeah, you can see it on camera, to my drive shaft loop I made out of tubing there. I boxed in and then welded, because this comes from the factory with rivets right here. I went ahead and welded this cross member. I want it to have more strength, so then I boxed it in. And then as you can see, as I'm boxing in the frame, it's all smooth. Kind of proud of myself for that. Good welds make good grinds. Same thing over here you can see. So kind of ugly with how those came out. But it'll grind out perfectly, just a little extra work. This is my Mustang parking brake cables for the IRS. It is not completely finished welded in or anything. There's some holes there. That's all going to be plated and tubed. Shock mounts. These are going to stick into the bed a little bit, but I'll cover them. This is our middle bed mount. This is our front, which, as you can see, to get the nut in, I'm going to have to make a notch. Not a big deal. And then the rear bed mount goes here because it's the tailgate's like right here. So it looks really long, but it's a short bed truck. Not a big deal. So same thing over here. This is all set to ride height as it sits. And these leaf mounts, these are the front leaf spring mounts. Those are the rear. These will come off eventually, but man, they've made great jack stand mounts. If you're curious, nothing's been going on in the cab. It is gutted. We're gonna hopefully be attacking that later. So a lot going on. It just doesn't look like it. You know, boxing the frame takes a while, and all these little pieces, measuring the drive shaft, fitting it in, hoping like hell it works, and it does. All the little mounts for the shocks. I mean, it's just like, it's a lot of work. I built a cart for my tubing bender. We can look at that later. My welder and stuff. So that's all just kind of pushed out of the way because we got to move the truck underneath the crane. We're gonna extract the cab today. I realize this is a little bit winded, but hopefully you guys are on board here. Yeah, so we got some work to do. Let's get to it. Wicked hot. Anyway, I just put a good bead. Well, the backs I mostly welded out, but the whole goal was here to just mostly put a good bead on it. Oh, we got a pock mark on the lens protector from Sparks. This is why I don't zoom you guys in closer. It's hell on fucking cameras to record welding. MIG welding anyway. Okay, so I didn't fully weld out all the mounts. I just put enough of a weld that it can support the truck. All it's got is an empty block, the transmission, which is all aluminum. I think the transmission is like 90 pounds. Well, it's got the bell housing, so 110, I'm guessing. But yeah, there's just not a lot of stuff on this truck. It's not taking hard impacts or anything like that. This will hold. So what I need to do now is get those rear tires on. Holy shit, it's on 4 wheels and tires, not on the ground. I gotta get off the jack stand. So there's 4 wheels and tires bolted off the truck. Look at that. Quickie walk around. And then we'll take it down. Because it's gonna sit crooked. It's just gonna, because the ground's all, you know. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Alright, let's get it down. It's a roller. Bad thing to note, I don't know if you caught that or heard me say it. The upper frame rails, from the force of this trying to come in, so it's trying to curve in, right, because of the geometry, push the top of the frame rails. It flexed them in a little bit. So that's going to be something we're going to have to address. I have an idea on how to handle it, but we're not there yet. Anyway, I'm burning up. I need to get some water, and let's push this truck forward. Oh my god, it's actually moving. Go. Months and months and months of work, and I'm standing right where the cab used to be. Obviously it doesn't drive at all yet, but I think it matters. It's a roller. The welds are holding. It goes where you point it, mostly. It's a thing. So, oh shit, I'm out of breath. It's because I'm excited and running. I need to stop that. So what you can see is that chain hoist. I gotta rig something up. I honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I'm gonna set it up to where it just picks the cab up off, and then we're gonna roll the frame right back to where it was. I'll do a little cleaning in here though while it's out. It's we got months and months and months of grinding and cutting dust in here. So, wow. All right, well, you guys will skip ahead while I mull over how to do this without destroying everything I've built. I'll get back to you on that.
3 hours later.
Ta-da! Frame's off. There's the cab. So anyway, I got it mostly level again. And then the cab would just camp out here with my rigging. That was an interesting process. If you're wondering why I didn't film it, it's because the helper I had is not really a big fan of being on camera. So I hope you guys respect that. You know, if you didn't want to be filmed, obviously you'd hope that people would honor that for you. And here we are. I'm in that situation. Nonetheless, what I'm going to work on now is the boxing plates here. They're 14 inches each. You know, driver and passenger side. If you notice, these are straight tubes, and these are like, they were straight, and then I added this leg. That's gonna go. I don't like that design. It was pointed out to me. There's a couple of flaws in it anyway. So those are gonna end up getting replaced. The problem with that is our transmission mount mounts to it. There's a few things that need to happen here, and that's what I'm gonna work on. First step though is get these boxing plates done, so that way all this is tied in and closed off. We don't want any of that there anymore. Oh, and then one of the things too, whenever I did, get out of the way, Jack. Whenever I set it down on its own weight, the top of the frame rail bent in. Reason for that, it's just basically sheet metal, like 3/16 steel. That's a lot of weight being levered. So I need to finish boxing in this area up front, and I'm gonna add some support internally, like in here, with some 1/4 inch plate, just nothing crazy, and then box all that in, so that way it's got some beef to the frame rail. And then I'm actually gonna tie in from here to here with a tube on each side once the real motor's in there. Maybe even some plate gussets. I'm gonna add some meat to it. We've got some work to do, but it's looking good. I haven't ground down like, you know, you see I'm grinding all this stuff down smooth, right? So I finished out these welds. I welded in the plates from here to here. It's a 14-inch plate. These were the last of the main boxing plates on the frame. The only other areas that I want to box are, I want to follow that taper, see? With the plate there, just to kind of close it off so there's not junk crawling down, or not crawling, but getting lodged down in there. I just don't like that idea. I want to take 2 pieces of 1/4 inch, well, let's walk around. Here's what we're kind of working with. So I'm mainly trying to support this area. So kind of between this is called an A plate that the upper arm bolts to. I want to add some 1/4 inch plate braces, just basically to tie into the top of my cross member that is not finished either, and tie this in. So it's kind of trying to twist the whole frame rail on here. Granted, that's not the end all be all, but if I do that flush, then when I weld the plate, I'm going to cut some slits to weld that together, so it'll kind of all be boxed in together really nice and solid, but nothing crazy. Obviously we need to clean this crap up. That was from the original cross member. This front suspension is somewhere between 180 and 200 pounds lighter than the original bullshit that was in here. So it's a significant improvement. Before we can start on that, I want to get the Mako block out of here. I want easier access. So that's priority number one. So this may seem like a weird place to stop for the week because, hey, we never finished putting that boxing plate in. Don't worry, we will next week, I promise. But next week will make more sense if we just do it then because of everything else that goes on. And if you haven't subscribed already, go hit and gray out that button because guess what? Next week, as I promised, you will be introduced to the actual final engine that I've been running for the first time ever. I'm gonna give you the details on all of it because it's a pretty cool small block Ford based on the original block. Like you saw I was doing, I believe it was actually in the first or second episode. So stay tuned for that, and then we'll have even more coming for the truck. Now we're gonna have to dive into, since it supports its own weight, we gotta start wrapping stuff up. We gotta get tabs in, get plumbing in, get the rest of the frame bracing in, all those other things. So you're gonna start to see that transpire. I missed some stuff I noticed in filming, but don't worry about it. I'll make sure, as I did in this one, to add excerpts to help clarify wherever I can. And as always, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to shoot me a message. There's links to my social media down below, as well as I respond to comments as fast as I can. So feel free to drop me a comment down below, or if there's anything I've missed, let me know. Till next time, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.